Hey, it's Kendall with BlackOvis, and I'm here in Bozeman, Montana with John Barklow from SITKA. John is the Senior
Product Manager.
Presidential Product Manager for all of our hunting. So if it's got just a simple logo on it, it's a t-shirt, it's not John.
No.
If it's the most badass product that you've ever seen as far as hunting product, it's got John's name written all over it. So grateful that you would spend the time with me, John. I've been most excited about this right here, and I'm very much new to the Intercept line.
Yeah.
I'm an absolute just dyed in the wool, true and true pant guy. I bought an extra pair when I knew they were going to go out of extinction. I'm on my second pair. My first pair, actually, it's faded. It's super thin. Yep. Like it's one of those that I'm at the point where if I crawl over the wrong rock or stick, it's going to rip. I absolutely love it. I am very interested to learn about this product more so, especially from you, from a design standpoint. So tell me a little about the Intercept line, and for people like me that are crying inside disappearing, tell me and our BlackOvis audience why they're going to be stoked about this pant right here and its complementary top.
Yeah, so I probably shouldn't say this, but this line is what I'm most excited about, because this is in my wheelhouse, right? So the kind of the concept of back in the day was, kind of started at least with an idea I had, which essentially was wanted to make a clothing system for that discernible archery hunter who was like, he valued quiet above all else, but it's easy to give quiet, but you got to balance it with durability. So for that discerning person who is always seeking that, right? And we know people, like South as an example, right? Stick bow guys who are getting like yards away. It had to be quiet. We wanted it to manage moisture. We wanted it to manage odor. We wanted to do all those things. Well,
and be durable.
And be durable. And so, you commented on it. This pant especially, it did all those things we wanted to, but the durability wasn't where I was comfortable with.
Are you talking from being ripping or tearing, or are you talking about lifetime of use and still maintains the integrity, from day 1 to day 51 to day 151?
Yeah, so I'm not worried about it like failing in the field, but over the course of either a really solid season or 2 seasons, it faded. So you weren't getting the effectiveness of the camo. You were starting to wear thin in the knees and the seat. And so when that started to happen and you did a stock, you were starting to put holes in it. That's not what SITKA wants to do. We can do better than that. So that's what we set out to do when we built the new Intercept line. So I'll start with the top first. The top is the same armor spun wool from our merino program that we just launched. This is a 220 weight, so it's a mid-weight merino. It's got that armor spun. It's got a hood and a face mask. So this is essentially like your mid-weight version of either a Fanatic hoodie or a Core lightweight hoodie or the merino versions of that. But then because you're stalking and you're down there crawling, we put the removable elbow pads. If you don't want them, you can remove it.
Just pull them out.
And you just have an amazing 220 weight merino hoodie,
which
is with a face mask.
It's like that perfect weight too.
Yeah, for those kind of transitional seasons that you often get into in September and early October, which is a lot of times when we're archery hunting. That's kind of that sweet spot.
You tell me this, and I'm thinking about my potential use, my eventual use of this product. Are you running? Let's say so we're on common ground. Early September, archery season opens here in Montana. Archery in Colorado, where I'm going to be on opening day. High country. I'm going to get cool mornings, potentially cool days, cooler evenings. Are you wearing anything under this 220, or is this next to skin for you?
So I'm normally wearing some thin, super lightweight base layer.
Long sleeve or short sleeve, or either?
It doesn't matter. But this piece here, because it's a 220 gram, that midweight, that transitional piece, you can wear this directly next to your skin. So you have that ability, that option to wear it directly next to your skin. I like to always have a little bit of a lightweight, either be it a t-shirt or a crew, just so if I have to swap this out for any reason. But No, it'll absolutely function great as a base layer for those kind of mid-season archery, you know, hunts like you're describing.
The reason I ask is because last year I found myself day 4 of being in the mountains, but day 2 of the opener in Colorado, I ended up on a 7-hour stalk. Deer just moved. I got busted by a couple small bucks. Ended up through some cliffs and basically belly crawling across open country. And the weather changed twice during that whole interim. At the very end, I was literally running after I missed the buck. I was running back to my pack because lightning and storms are coming. But this weight feels like something that when you take off the puffy, you take off the other jacket, you're going on stalk, you've got a little bit more versatility.
Absolutely.
If you ran into the same situation that I just described.
And that's why
where core lightweight hoodie was under.
Not enough.
Yeah, I was undermanned for sure.
Right, and so that's why we kind of chose this middle of the road, so to speak, 220-gram merino, because it's built for archery seasons. Either, you know, early spring, so right here going after bear soon, or those, you know, mule deer, elk, predominantly in the west. So.
Yeah, late September with a base layer into this is like money.
Yeah, yeah. So
half zip too, it comes down pretty
just to give
far.
Good ventilation, easy on off. But if you need to dump heat, just open it up, dump that heat.
Small chest pocket.
Yeah.
A little bit longer on the
back,
on the tail.
Yeah.
And then I did notice it's a bird's eye merino, which is the cut on this face mask is not horizontal. It's kind of curved. Provide a little bit of coverage on the neck as you zip down a little bit farther if you are trying to dump heat. But I love the bird's eye from the standpoint of I'm always breathing on that, and I might have a little bit more ventilation.
Yeah, so this ventilates really well because it's wool. It's not going to stink when you're breathing through it. You know, on day 7 and you haven't brushed your teeth as often as you want to. But that face mask to me has just become so critical. I almost feel naked without it, just for the concealment when you get in close on some of those, you know, tight stalks. The other cool thing, and I'll talk about this in the pant, but this Intercept hoodie is also offered in this deep lichen color.
Yep.
So if you choose to, you know, you love it so much, you want to have a solid color to do some other things in the rest of the year, you have that option.
So one thing, looking at these 4 pieces right here, 2 pants, 2 tops, I'm thinking, I'm going to buy them all. I'm fortunate I work at a hunting company, a little bit better pricing. But I'm looking at this going, this pant and this top, great compliment. I don't mind hunting in solids. In fact, sometimes I prefer it from some of the other brands that we offer at BlackOvis, plus the SITKA brand. I'm mixing and matching. Or the lichen bottom with the camo top. I mean, from a look standpoint, pretty awesome.
Yeah. To
run a solid with a camo top for additional breakup. This is really, like, you really nailed the colors. And
yeah,
it sounds weird. It's like we're trying to go to the prom or something, but from a matching standpoint and a use standpoint, very versatile from a colorway.
Yeah, I hunted almost exclusively in the deep lichen pant last year just because it was easier for me to see if there was anything going on with the material. Picking, pilling, anything like that.
The camo
it was easier to see, where it was harder to see on the camo. And yeah, I enjoyed wearing that solid pant and the camo top.
Let's move this top over and let's get into those pants.
So I'm going to tell you, the Intercept pant, like with the idea of we want to get quiet, but you have to have durability for that big game consumer. We're not, you know, sitting in a tree stand or something like that. Nothing against that, but you know, you could be crawling, you could be sliding on your butt. You're living out there for a week at a time. You can't have your product fail on you. But it's a very difficult balance to get durability and quiet. They're almost like oil and water. And so went back to the team and said, hey, you know, we're still working on the problem we initially set out on. I think we did a great job. I think we can do better now. This fabric, again, is only in this pant anywhere in the world. This is our proprietary fabric. And we just improved upon that. So this is now a nylon face. The other was a poly. So this nylon face is going to give you a couple things. It's going to give you durability. It's always going to be more durable than poly. And the way you are able to print nylon, this camel print is going to stay on the garment much longer, probably indefinitely, where it started to wear out and get a little light colored. you shouldn't have that problem with the Intercept. So that fixed durability and printability. Those were two big check marks. The next thing we wanted to do on the inside, which if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know any different, but the inside of the pant, it's got these
It's similar.
raised
It does
dots.
look slightly different.
It is a little slightly different.
When I looked at it this morning and yesterday for the first time, I thought there's something not quite the same that I've seen.
So this is nylon face now bonded to this polyester back. That's what you see here.
Yep.
But to provide a little more odor resistance for those long trips, for those days where you're sweating and then it cools off and you're sweating again, we were able to add a 10% wool content to the inside of this pant now. So that's what you're seeing in here, and that's not all of the raised dots, so to speak, or the engineered knit, but there's actually a wool component, a merino wool component now in here. This is a very highly technical fabric package that we were able to put together for this very, to me, like super impactful pursuit, which is, stalking these animals in very close. And so we wanted to do everything we could. So you don't only get durability, you don't only get printability, but now you get better odor resistance.
That look, and if you could see the textile, you'd recognize that there is a difference. But the idea of interwoven merino, like the enhancement from that is it's got me pretty stoked actually.
Yeah, no,
and
it's very cool.
From the logo here, Polygiene is utilized as well in this fabric.
Still have Polygiene. So just trying to do everything we can to help that hunter be as successful as possible.
John, there's a zipper here.
Yeah.
Tell me about that zipper.
Yeah, so
if I can back up, two-way zipper on the fly, which is great from the top, bottom, bottom down, top, bottom up, top down.
Right.
Love that versatility.
Especially when you have a pack on.
Yep.
The reason I like talking to you so much, not just because you're a friend, is because you love gear like we do, and so you see those little details that somehow go unnoticed, but have heard the input, I will say, right? We've put in, first time in a big game pant, we put in thigh vents.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
When you think about, when I thought about the end use, and this started 2 years ago, I went on a caribou hunt. I took the first proto, and I'm like, well, I'm going to take it, but I'm not going to use those thigh vents. It's Alaska, and we're above the Arctic Circle and the whole thing. Man, having them and having the option was really nice. And so
eye-opening. I mean, were you surprised at how, not that you just used them, but the extent that you used them?
I was honestly, and so I think that maybe you'll continue to see some of that evolution. But we wanted to make sure, anytime you put a zipper in, it's a weak point. So you just want to make sure that you're doing it in the right spot. You're not overstressing it. You want to make sure the fit you get right. But man, for that hunter who's in those transitional seasons, right? Fall, it can snow, it can rain, it can be hot. It can do all that in 24 hours. You want to make sure that you got one pant that kind of allows you to adapt and do all those things. So those thigh vents allowed us to do that. We just moved the cargo pocket just a little bit farther forward,
the front of the thigh.
Right?
Yep.
Still has mesh inside, still has the internal mesh pocket for like a phone or GPS or InReach or whatever, calls, whatever the case may be.
You can lock down like an external read call more simply in there because it won't land at the bottom of the pocket. Because that only goes down probably at 2/3 of the distance. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And then the last thing, because now we had a hip vent, I was able to change up with the designers the way the knee pad entered. So now the knee pad enters from the top. So you could literally unzip the hip vent, reach into the hip vent while you're wearing them, and pull out the knee pad.
Which was impossible.
Couldn't do it before.
You could maybe get it out,
but
there's no way to get it in.
Right.
When in use, you always had to. I mean, I would turn it inside out, come up the Velcro, and then all that sort of.
Yep.
I mean, I can't remember. I can't tell you how many times I've done it, but I love I personally always have the knee pad in.
I do too.
I've come to love it. I like the additional warmth around the knee where you have less circulation. I'm not getting any younger.
Right.
And that I think is a benefit. I love the idea of never having to worry about where I kneel.
Right.
How I progress, across challenging terrain. And this is This is super cool. You're holding a knee pad that I'm just...
Yeah, so...
It sounds dumb, but I'm so freaking stoked about this knee pad over the previous version, which I felt had some weaknesses, and it didn't really function as well. What's interesting about this knee pad, you've got kind of these pock marks, if you will, or these little
dimples,
craters, dimples in there. A solid with some horizontal slots, which I suspect is for allowing some flexibility. But this feels different. It's not just like your regular everyday Home Depot foam. There's something different about this foam.
Yeah, so this is a D3O knee pad. So, you know, D3O, for those that don't know, they are kind of the premium brand on the market that make joint protection for football, hockey, action sports, military, where you need that joint protection, elbows, head, shoulders, knees, all that. This is a pant that, you know, I just said, that discerning archery hunter, he's looking for every advantage he can get. It seemed like it warranted putting the best knee pad we could find in this pant. This was the D3O one. We tried a lot of different knee pads from D3O, a lot of different shapes, sizes, densities. This knee pad, believe it or not, tests off the chart. It actually breathes, amazingly enough, even though, right, you wouldn't think it does. It's very lightweight. If you were to fall down or kneel down, the impact immediately is dissipated, so you don't get that shock through your knees. It's just performed exceptionally well. And, you know, maybe I can tell people now, but for years, I was running aftermarket knee pads in pants because I needed that extra joint protection. And I'm like, well, wait a second. If I'm doing this, I'm not the only one that would benefit from this. When we do the update, let's take that final step and put the best joint protection in we can. That's the D3O knee pad. And that shape, that size, you know, we've tested it. I've gone on lots of hikes and ski tours. And it was the one that I thought fit the best, performed the best.
Gotcha.
And again, now that you have the hip vent, if you want to hike into your base camp and then once you're kind of in hunt mode, slide them in, it's seamless. And so this whole package now, subalpine and deep lichen options, like to me, this is probably to date the most technical big game pant we've ever made.
This is the pinnacle.
This is the pinnacle as far as I'm concerned.
One last question on the knee pad. As far as it packing out, if you will, you know, I actually don't use the second generation knee pad from SITKA. I use the first generation.
Right.
It was the whole complete one.
Yes.
Mine are extraordinarily curved, but they are getting packed out. What's the longevity of this particular foam for the guys out there that are using knee pads?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I mean,
it's interesting you asked.
It's relative. You can't say, you know, 364 uses, right?
Yeah. Let's just say that it's going to perform a lot longer than any knee pad we've ever had in a pair of pants. So I'm really stoked at the whole package. This to me was like the final piece that kind of brought it all together. And I was like, yeah, this to me is the ultimate archery big game pant, like period, like end of story in my opinion. So we'll continue to evolve it. I'm already, you know, thinking, but there's nothing else right now with technology that we could do to make this any better. I've
heard people say, and this kind of to summarize, a couple of things that I noticed on the pant. Same wider belt line. The belt loops have a little bit of structure to them, which I really like. They're a little bit wider than a normal like Levi's or something like that. Little bit of grip on the inside, so it's not slipping up and down along the waistline. The cut looks to be very similar. I've heard videos of guys online kind of become a standard with people I've heard talking about pant fit and shape. This looks to be not quite as tapered at the bottom, but yet to be seen as far. But
I wanted to make sure it wasn't quite as tapered.
It was
you know a little bit about. So first of all, I never want to be associated with skinny jeans, so I had to change that. But you know a little bit something about footwear, right?
Yeah.
And big game boots. And so we wanted to make sure that it was capable of fitting over all the modern best hunting boots.
For sure.
And so we just wanted to open up just a little bit. But we still wanted to make sure it was, you know, tapered enough that you didn't have a lot of extra material if you wanted to take off your boots and stuff your pants and your socks, or you know, get a lot of swooshing as you're moving in on that final stalk.
100%. The cargo pocket also is a quiet snap. It does have a little bit of a tab on the bottom, which is useful, 100% useful. It's another one of those, why didn't someone else think about this earlier? The axis is fantastic. As far as the rear goes, no pockets, because this is a hunting pant. This isn't a, I mean, I would probably wear this on a regular basis, just day to day. It looks like a comfortable pant that,
yeah.
and I love the color, but no rear pockets, obviously because out of necessity for intended use. I like the deep pockets. They still have the mesh inside.
Correct. They kind of act as a bellows when you walk.
It's a dual-sided mesh versus mesh on one side, top of the hand, bottom of the hand. So all around, super excited about the Interceptor pant and top. This is, yeah, this is going to change the way I approach which items I'm using for hunting, particularly my bow hunting. So, John, thanks a ton for letting us get inside your head and understand the build of this. I hope this information has been valuable. I found it extremely interesting myself, and I'm really excited to use this piece that's brand new for 2023.